This video message is about competency-based learning at GOA, what it is, why we're doing it, and what the plan is. And the first thing I want to say before I dive into the details of this is that this is a mode of learning that's already happening in many ways at GOA, and what our focus is for the next year or two is to really drill down on what's working in our classes and scale it. Do more of it, make sure it infuses everything we do, and make sure that students especially really understand what the work of competency-based learning is. So what I'm going to do is walk you through some basic information about it, and then I'm going to encourage you after this video message to ping me with any questions you have. So I'll talk to you soon. Here's the basic definition of competency-based learning, which we've taken from an educational organization, INACOL. The key to understanding competency-based learning is that it puts the control over how and when students learn in the hands of the student. Students advance upon mastery, not after they spend a certain amount of time in a class. The assessments they do are meaningful and nuanced and are relevant to learning outside of school. And above all, learning outcomes and competencies are the key communication tool for talking to students about how they're learning. What does this mean for learning at GOA? What it means for learning at GOA is a lot of what we're already doing, which is an open, ongoing conversation with and among students about what and how we are learning. The difference is, by committing to competency-based learning, we are committing to the language of competencies and outcomes in how we communicate to students about what our classes are about, how students are assessed, and in providing students the language and knowledge to locate their intrinsic motivation and take more control over when and how they learn. The good news is you're already doing a lot of this work. The most exciting learning happening at GOA, as you know from seeing the work of your colleagues and talking to your instructional designers, is relevant, authentic, and student-driven. The pillars of competency-based learning are, in EduSpeak, that learning is transferable, meaning that students can take what they learn in a class and use it in other contexts, especially real-world contexts. That it's transdisciplinary, that the skills that they're exercising are not limited to a single academic field, and that it's personalized. Pace, time, space, all those things are more under a student's control than in traditional learning environments. This is already happening at GOA. The work is following a plan that will allow us as an entire organization to move forward and provide a common competency-based learning experience to all of our students. We spent the last year creating competencies and outcomes and aligning them to our outlines. This coming year, we're going to focus on a culture of transparency and feedback. Formative feedback and total transparency with students is essential to good competency-based learning. And then in 2018, 2019, we're really going to think differently about things like course architecture, pathways, choice, and different modes of assessment. So here we are at the cranberry bogs. It's really hot, as you can probably tell from Roxanne panting. Now that you have the overview of competency-based learning and kind of what the plan is at GOA, I want to talk a little bit about why we're focusing on feedback this year. Feedback is probably the most important work we do as teachers in terms of supporting student learning. And when it comes to competency-based learning, there's certain outcomes associated with great feedback that I want to share with you and make sure we're super aware of the kind of feedback we're talking about and what it means. These are the outcomes that we're looking for from all of our courses in 2017-2018, and it has a lot to do with being transparent with students about what we're trying to get them to do, and also making sure that our feedback practices are grounded in formative feedback, not necessarily summative feedback, and that we're using the language of the competencies and outcomes in rubrics and in our narrative feedback to students. Really what it comes down to is that grades are decreasing in their value and their meaning when it comes to learning in the world that our students are about to enter. We want to practice feedback in a way that lends meaning and weight to learning in process, meaning formative, as opposed to focusing on scores and rewards at the end of a process, meaning grades as a summative assessment. This is an ongoing process, and it's one of the reasons why we're focusing on the pedagogy and practice of feedback this year, because as we make decisions about grades at GOA, we want to make sure you as a faculty fully understand the role of feedback in the work you're doing.